There are some stories that don't rush. They wait patiently, like a path through the woods that only appears when you're ready to walk it. This is one of those stories. It's been told for a very long time, by firelight, by candle glow, in quiet rooms where the world outside feels far away. Every time it's told, it sounds a little different, but at its heart, it's always the same gentle journey. It's about a small girl and a red hood, about a forest that listens, about a path and the choice to follow it. So take a slow breath, let your shoulders soften, and when you're ready, we'll begin. This is the story of Little Red Riding Hood. Once upon a time, in a gentle village tucked between rolling hills and whispering forests, there lived a little girl, known to everyone as Little Red Riding Hood. She wasn't called that because it was her real name. Her real name was known only to her family and was used mostly when she was in trouble. But her grandmother had sewn her a small cloak with a bright red hood, and the girl loved it so dearly that she wore it every day, rain or shine, summer or snow. Over time, no one could imagine her without it, and so the name stuck. Little Red Riding Hood lived with her mother in a tidy cottage at the edge of the woods. Every morning, sunlight spilled through the windows, and the smell of bread baking filled the air. Her mother was kind but practical, the sort of woman who believed that the world was beautiful and dangerous, and that children should learn the difference. One cool autumn morning, her mother called her over. "Your grandmother isn't feeling well today," she said, wrapping a loaf of fresh bread in a cloth. "I want you to take her some food, bread, honey, and a little jar of soup." Little Red Riding Hood smiled. She loved visiting her grandmother, who lived alone in a small cottage deep in the forest. Her grandmother told the best stories about when the forest was young and the trees could still talk. But her mother knelt and looked her straight in the eyes. "Listen carefully," she said. "Stay on the path. Do not wander. Do not talk to strangers. The forest is not a place for games." Little Red Riding Hood nodded solemnly. She promised, took the basket, pulled up her red hood, and set off. The forest was cool and shadowed, but not frightening, at least not at first. Sunlight danced between the branches. Birds sang as if guiding her along. The path was narrow but clear, worn smooth by many careful feet. As she walked, she hummed softly and thought about her grandmother. She wondered if she'd be awake yet, if she'd tell her one of her long stories, if they'd drink tea together by the fire. And then, from behind a tall oak tree, a voice spoke. "Good morning, little girl." Little Red Riding Hood stopped. Before her stood a wolf, tall, gray, with eyes that shone like polished stones. His voice was smooth and polite, almost gentle. "Good morning," she replied, remembering her manners before remembering her promise. "Where are you going so early?" the wolf asked. She hesitated. Her mother's warning echoed faintly in her mind, but the wolf smiled, and smiles can be tricky things. "I'm going to my grandmother's house," she said. "She lives at the other side of the forest." The wolf's ears twitched. "Oh, how lovely," he said. "And what's in that basket?" "Food," she answered, "to help her feel better." The wolf nodded thoughtfully, as if this were the most ordinary conversation in the world. "You know," he said, glancing around, "the forest is especially beautiful today. Have you noticed the flowers? Your grandmother would love them. It's a shame to arrive empty-handed. Aside from food, of course." Little Red Riding Hood looked around. Indeed, flowers dotted the forest floor, blue, white, and gold. Well, she thought, it wouldn't hurt to pick just a few. She stepped off the path. The wolf bowed politely. "I'll take the other way," he said. "Perhaps I'll see you later." And with that he vanished into the trees. Little Red Riding Hood picked flowers carefully, humming as she went. She didn't notice how the forest grew quieter, how the light dimmed, how the path seemed farther away than before. Meanwhile, the wolf ran. He knew the forest well, every shortcut, every hidden trail. He reached the grandmother's cottage long before Little Red Riding Hood ever could. The wolf knocked softly. "Who is it?" called the grandmother. "It's me," said the wolf, imitating the girl's voice. "Little Red Riding Hood." The door opened. In one swift moment, the wolf leapt forward. In this bedtime version, the grandmother was clever and hid herself safely in a cupboard, so don't worry. The wolf donned her nightgown and cap, pulled the blankets high, and waited. When Little Red Riding Hood finally reached the cottage, the sun was beginning to sink. She knocked. "Come in," said a voice that sounded strange. The room was dim. Her grandmother lay in bed. "Grandmother," said the girl slowly, "what big ears you have." "All the better to hear you with," replied the wolf. "And what big eyes you have, all the better to see you with. And what big teeth you have, all the better to—" Before the wolf could finish, the door burst open. A woodsman, who had been passing by and noticed the open door, rushed in. With a shout and a swing of his axe, mostly for dramatic effect, he scared the wolf clean out of the cottage and back into the forest, where he never dared return. The grandmother emerged safely from her hiding place. Little Red Riding Hood ran to her, hugging her tightly. "I'm so sorry," she said. "I should have stayed on the path." Her grandmother smiled and stroked her hair. "The world will always try to distract you," she said gently. "That's how you know which paths matter." They shared the food, drank tea, and watched the fire crackle as the forest outside grew quiet once more. And from that day on, Little Red Riding Hood never forgot her promise. She still wore her red hood. She still loved the forest, but she walked wisely and listened closely, always. And so the path grew quiet again. The forest returned to its gentle listening, the trees holding the story in their leaves, the wind carrying it just a little farther than before. Little Red Riding Hood went on with her life, a little wiser, a little calmer, her red hood still bright against the world. Stories like this don't truly end. They simply settle, waiting to be remembered, waiting to be told again when the night is quiet and someone needs a familiar path to follow. And that story was Little Red Riding Hood.